Chelsea's fears are becoming impossible to ignore. Heather is preparing to play a dangerous game, and Andre's troubled past is once again refusing to remain buried. As Tuesday, August 25 approaches on Beyond the Gates, the tension begins with Chelsea, whose emotional state is spiraling after a painful anniversary brings everything she endured rushing back to the surface. It has been exactly 1 year since Allison kidnapped her, and realizing that date has triggered Chelsea in a way she never expected, forcing her to relive the fear, helplessness, and emotional devastation she experienced when it first happened. Every memory seems sharper now. Every old wound suddenly feels fresh. And just when Chelsea is struggling to regain control of herself, something even more unsettling begins happening around her. She starts receiving mysterious phone calls from an unknown caller. But each time Chelsea answers and speaks, the person on the other end hangs up only seconds later, leaving behind nothing but silence and a growing sense of dread. For Chelsea, those calls are more than suspicious. They could feel like a warning that someone from her past has found a way back into her life. That possibility naturally leads to the question Chelsea may be too frightened to ask out loud. Could Allison actually be back? If Allison is somehow involved, Chelsea could be facing another wave of pain, anxiety, and emotional chaos from the woman who already changed her life so dramatically. Yet, there is still another possibility, and that may make Chelsea's situation even more complicated. Because the mysterious calls could be nothing more than psychological triggers, magnified by the trauma surrounding the anniversary. On Tuesday, Chelsea projects her panic, and all the fear, anger, and frustration building inside her may finally spill over onto someone close to her. Whoever ends up bearing the weight of Chelsea's emotional outburst will need to understand that she is not simply being difficult or irrational. She is struggling beneath the surface with memories she has never truly escaped. What Chelsea needs right now is comfort, reassurance, patience, and genuine love. Because beneath the anger is someone terrified that she may once again lose control of her own life. And with Allison still hopefully behind bars and unable to hurt her again, everyone around Chelsea will be hoping these terrifying signs are only the echoes of an old nightmare, rather than evidence that the nightmare has returned. While Chelsea battles those personal demons, Heather has her own reasons for being in the DMV, and none of them are harmless. One of her biggest concerns at the moment is Smitty, the investigative reporter who has already caused serious problems for her criminal operation. Smitty was not satisfied with helping bring down the plasma ring in the DMV, because his ambitions go much further than simply exposing one part of the organization. He wants to tear the entire operation apart, uncover the truth behind the red market ring, and, most importantly, discover the identity of the mysterious figure known as the Impaler. His determination has already become a major threat, especially after he recently made it clear to Martin that he intended to remain in town until he figured everything out. That decision puts Heather in an increasingly dangerous position, because she knows exactly what Smitty is searching for and understands how disastrous it could be if he gets close enough to uncover the truth. The problem is that Smitty's successful series, exposing the red market ring, has already placed far too much attention on the criminal operation Heather is desperately trying to protect. Every new revelation increases the pressure. Every question brings investigators closer, and every piece of information Smitty uncovers creates another potential path leading directly back to her. Heather cannot simply sit quietly and hope the danger disappears, especially when Smitty has made it clear that he is not leaving until he finds the Impaler. So instead, she decides to take matters into her own hands by toying with both Martin and Smitty, turning their investigation into something far more complicated than they realize. Exactly what Heather intends to do to them remains uncertain. But one thing is clear. She is not the type to wait patiently while her secrets are threatened. She knows how to manipulate people, how to create distractions, and how to turn someone else's investigation against them. Meaning, Martin and Smitty could soon find themselves walking directly into a trap without even realizing Heather is controlling the game. But Heather's presence in town is not entirely about the investigation, because there is another person she needs to reconnect with, and that person is Andre. Their history stretches back to a very different version of the man Andre has become. And Heather remembers him as the carefree, jet-setting, non-committal playboy who never seemed interested in settling down or allowing anyone to truly pin him in place. That is why the Andre she encounters now is so difficult for her to understand. He is married, faithful, and seemingly committed to a life that bears little resemblance to the man she once knew. And Heather cannot help but question whether this new version of Andre is genuine or simply another mask hiding the truth. Whatever her personal feelings about his transformation may be, however, Heather has a reason for seeking him out, and that reason appears to be more important than nostalgia or old memories. She wants something from Andre, and the history between them could give her exactly the leverage she needs to get it. One possibility is that Heather is after the incriminating photograph Andre took, something that could potentially connect the present to the darker parts of his past. With Andre already being forced to confront old memories and unresolved pieces of his former life, Heather's arrival could not come at a more complicated moment. The more Andre tries to move forward, the more the past seems determined to pull him backward, and now Heather is standing directly in the middle of that conflict. If she truly wants the photograph, Andre will have to decide how much of his past he is willing to protect and how much he is willing to sacrifice to preserve the life he has built. Perhaps confronting that past will finally push him into making a difficult choice. And perhaps Heather believes she can use his discomfort against him. Either way, their reunion promises to reopen wounds that Andre may have hoped were permanently closed. Away from the darker schemes unfolding around Chelsea, Heather, and Andre, June finds herself trying to bring some light into Tyrell's life. Tyrell has been struggling emotionally ever since Jessica dumped him, and the breakup has clearly left him feeling low and uncertain about what comes next. June recognizes that he needs someone willing to stand beside him while he works through the disappointment. And her support could give him the encouragement he desperately needs right now. Sometimes, after heartbreak, even a small act of kindness can make a person feel less alone, and June appears ready to be that source of strength for Tyrell. Her efforts could help him begin rebuilding his confidence and remind him that Jessica's decision does not define his worth or his future. Amid all the secrets and danger surrounding everyone else, this quieter emotional connection offers a glimpse of warmth and hope. Meanwhile, Vanessa appears to be preparing for a major transformation of her own, although exactly what is driving this sudden desire for change remains unclear. The biggest question is whether Vanessa is simply changing her look or whether this drastic action represents something much deeper happening in her life. A major overhaul can sometimes be about more than appearance. It can signal a person's desire to leave an old chapter behind, reclaim control, or reinvent themselves after something has shaken their confidence. Whatever is motivating Vanessa, her decision is certain to attract attention, especially because such a dramatic move rarely happens without a reason. Viewers will be left wondering what inspired her to take such an unexpected step and whether this new version of Vanessa will affect the people around her. For now, the mystery surrounding her transformation only adds another intriguing thread to the growing web of Tuesday's drama. And then there is Randy, who has information that could change the way Joey handles everything involving Heather. Randy's current assignment is to keep a close eye on Heather, carefully following her movements and watching the people she interacts with as he tries to uncover what she is really doing. Now, he has an intriguing update for Joey, and whatever Randy has discovered could prove extremely valuable. Perhaps he will reveal details about Heather's interactions with Martin and Smitty, giving Joey a clearer picture of how deeply she is involved with the investigation surrounding the Red Market ring. Or perhaps Randy has also uncovered something about Heather's renewed contact with Andre, which could expose another layer of her agenda and reveal exactly what she is searching for. Either way, this information could give Joey the advantage he needs, allowing him to approach Heather with far more knowledge than he had before. As Tuesday's story moves forward, every storyline begins to feel connected by the same underlying sense of danger and uncertainty. Chelsea is fighting against memories that threaten to overwhelm her, while mysterious phone calls make her question whether the past is truly finished with her. Heather, meanwhile, is juggling multiple threats at once, determined to keep Smitty from getting any closer to the Impaler while also pursuing whatever she wants from Andre. At the same time, June is trying to lift Tyrell out of the emotional darkness left behind by Jessica. Vanessa is preparing for a mysterious transformation. And Randy's surveillance of Heather could soon provide Joey with the crucial information he needs. The calm on the surface is deceptive, because beneath it, secrets are moving, old wounds are reopening, and dangerous plans are quietly taking shape. And as the pieces begin sliding into place, the biggest question of all may be whether Chelsea's fears are simply the ghosts of what happened 1 year ago, or whether someone has truly returned to make those fears a terrifying reality. As the tension surrounding Heather continues to build, the danger becomes even more complicated because she is no longer dealing with a single problem. Smitty's investigation is closing in on the red market operation. Martin is now part of the equation, and Andre represents an entirely different connection to a past Heather may need to control. She has every reason to feel the pressure, but Heather is not someone who allows fear to dictate her next move. Instead, she appears ready to turn the situation around by manipulating the very people who believe they are investigating her. If Smitty thinks he can simply stay in town until he discovers the identity of the Impaler, Heather may be preparing to make that search far more dangerous than he ever imagined. The closer he gets to the truth, the more carefully she will have to play the game, because one wrong move could expose everything. Martin could also find himself caught in Heather's web without realizing just how much is at stake. His interactions with Smitty have already placed him close to an investigation that could uncover some very serious secrets. And Heather knows that keeping the two men uncertain may be the easiest way to protect herself. She could feed them conflicting information, create distractions, or even use their own suspicions against each other, all while quietly watching to see who gets too close. The frightening part is that Heather does not necessarily need to destroy the investigation completely. She only needs to slow it down long enough to protect her identity. Every delay gives her another opportunity to move pieces into place, and every moment of confusion gives her another chance to escape scrutiny. Smitty may believe he is hunting a criminal mastermind, but Heather could soon prove that the person he is searching for is already several steps ahead of him. Then there is Andre, and his connection to Heather could become one of the most unpredictable parts of the entire situation. Heather remembers the man Andre used to be, and that memory gives her an advantage because she knows there are parts of him that the people in his current life may never have seen. The married and faithful Andre standing before her today may be determined to leave his old behavior behind, but the past does not disappear simply because someone decides to become a different person. Heather knows that, and she may be counting on Andre's discomfort with his former life to pressure him into giving her what she wants. The incriminating photograph could be more than a simple object. It could represent a dangerous piece of evidence capable of reopening questions Andre would rather never answer. If Heather manages to convince him that surrendering the photograph is the easiest way to protect himself, Andre may find himself trapped between the life he has built and the secrets he once thought he had escaped. For Chelsea, however, the past is not something she can negotiate with, because the memories surrounding Allison's kidnapping are returning with overwhelming force. The anniversary has opened an emotional wound that Chelsea may have spent an entire year trying to keep closed, and now every detail of what happened seems to be pressing back into her consciousness. The mysterious calls make everything worse, because they provide just enough uncertainty to make her question whether her fear is based entirely on trauma or whether there is a real threat standing somewhere in the shadows. Each unanswered call becomes another reason to worry, and each sudden hang-up leaves Chelsea with more questions than answers. She cannot see the person on the other end, cannot understand their motive, and cannot know whether the silence means nothing or whether it is meant to frighten her. That uncertainty could become more terrifying than any direct threat, because Chelsea's imagination is already filled with memories of what Allison was capable of doing. That emotional pressure may explain why Chelsea lashes out when she projects her panic onto someone close to her. Fear rarely stays contained, especially when a person feels cornered by memories they cannot control. And Chelsea could find herself reacting before she has time to think about the consequences. Her anger may come across as harsh or unfair to the person receiving it, but underneath those emotions is desperation. Chelsea needs someone to understand that she is frightened and that the anniversary has brought back feelings she may not know how to handle on her own. What she needs most is reassurance that she is safe, that Allison cannot reach her, and that the people around her will not abandon her when she is struggling. If someone gives her that support, instead of responding with anger, it could become an important emotional turning point for Chelsea. But if her fear continues to grow unchecked, the situation could become much more volatile. At the same time, June's support for Tyrell offers a completely different emotional atmosphere, creating a softer moment amid all the suspicion and danger. Tyrell has been carrying the weight of Jessica's decision ever since she ended their relationship, and the breakup has clearly affected his confidence. June's presence could give him a chance to talk, breathe, and begin remembering that his life does not end with one painful rejection. Her encouragement may not erase what happened, but it can remind him that heartbreak does not have to become a permanent state of loneliness. Sometimes healing begins simply because another person chooses to stay close when everything feels difficult. June appears ready to be that person for Tyrell, and her kindness could slowly help him find his footing again. Vanessa's mysterious overhaul, meanwhile, adds another question to the growing list of unanswered questions surrounding the DMV. If she is changing her appearance, viewers will naturally wonder whether the transformation is connected to something happening in her personal life, or whether she simply feels ready to reinvent herself. A new look can represent confidence, rebellion, escape, or even preparation for something bigger. And Vanessa's drastic decision could carry more meaning than anyone initially realizes. There is a sense that she is not merely changing the outside, but attempting to redefine how she sees herself and how others see her. Whatever inspired the move, the timing is intriguing because so many people around her are already dealing with secrets, shifting relationships, and uncertainty. Her transformation may therefore become another unexpected thread that begins to connect with the larger drama. And while everyone else is trying to understand what is happening, Randy continues quietly gathering information on Heather. His job requires patience, because following someone like Heather means watching without revealing that she is being watched. Every conversation, every meeting, and every unexpected change in her behavior could contain a clue, and Randy appears determined to notice all of it. When he finally brings Joey an update, that information could change the entire way Joey approaches the situation. Learning about Heather's interactions with Martin, Smitty, or Andre could help him understand that her presence in town is far more complicated than it appears on the surface. Instead of confronting her blindly, Joey could use Randy's information to anticipate Heather's next move, giving him a chance to challenge her from a position of knowledge rather than suspicion. That could become especially important if Heather realizes that someone is beginning to piece together her movements. She has spent so much time controlling what others know that the possibility of someone uncovering her connections could be deeply threatening. If Joey becomes more informed, Heather may have to change her strategy again, and that could create another dangerous confrontation. The problem for Heather is that every new person who learns something about her creates another potential weakness, while the people investigating her are slowly beginning to compare notes. Smitty has his investigation, Randy has his surveillance, Martin has his involvement, and Andre has his own history with Heather that could become relevant at any moment. What begins as several separate threads could soon tighten into one dangerous knot. And through all of it, Chelsea's mysterious phone calls remain perhaps the most unsettling question of the day. If Allison truly is still behind bars, then who is calling Chelsea? And why do they hang up immediately after hearing her voice? Could someone be deliberately recreating the fear of her kidnapping, knowing exactly how deeply the anniversary would affect her? Or is Chelsea's trauma causing ordinary events to feel more threatening than they really are? Until she discovers the truth, neither possibility can be dismissed, and that uncertainty keeps the emotional tension alive. One thing is certain: Chelsea is not going to be able to simply forget the past because the calendar has moved forward. The past has found a way to speak again. And whether that voice belongs to a real enemy or to the echoes of an old trauma could determine just how much darker her story becomes.